Welcome to the Human Narratives. This is your host, Dorinda. It is a pleasure to be back another beautiful week. I hope that you're having a lovely, wonderful Sunday. And of course, happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to every mother out there, whether you're celebrating a mom or one yourself or honoring the memory of one. I hope today is filled with love, gratitude, and is a lot of special moments, right? So happy Mother's Day. And of course, happy Mother's Day to my own mother as well. So I wanted to talk about this, particularly mothers and being in that role of motherhood. I don't have children myself, but that's something that, it's not something that being a mom that everyone have to be, they say you have to naturally give in birth to someone to become a mother. It doesn't have to be biological in sense. There's so many of women out there who do not have children but are mothers to many out there. So I just want to celebrate all of the mothers out there today, because you deserve to be celebrated. You deserve to be celebrated. We do not enter into this world, right, without a woman. So woo, let's celebrate our women. So what is a mother? A mom is so many different things. A mother is so many different things. I mean, growing up, I saw my mom play so many roles in our lives, right? So it's not just biological. It's, it can be emotional, spiritual, and the most basic level. I remember talking to my mom about, earlier today, and she was going through history, right, about things. But one of the things she mentioned, I like to just pick certain things that sticks with me in conversations. One of the things that she mentioned that stuck with me is that, I raised you all in the church. I raised you all, knowing God, and that is something that I'm really grateful for, seeing that. And of course, she went on other things that she wants her children, that she's praying for her children to be able to grow in as well, right? But that's what a mom is. There's so many things, right? They can be your emotional space. They can be your, just not just your biological, but your spiritual space as well, right? And the most basic really is that a mother is someone that gives life, who raises a child. And sometimes, like I said, it doesn't have to be just in biological sense, but of course that is what, a mom is. So mother is often, beyond that. It's nurture, it's being able to give love, right? I know a lot of times people are saying that, well, I'm a mom and that's beautiful, but it is just, being a mother is just beyond that. It is often nurturing too. It provides love, it provides comfort, it provides support, right? It doesn't have to be perfection either, right? Because there's also a lot of parental guilt, and I want to be able to talk about that as well later on, because sometimes society, we all shame certain aspect and roles, not knowing or sometimes knowing, or just because of the way we were brought up, or through, domestication, right? So a mother is also someone is a protector. A lot of times we hear this term, a mama bear. Someone is a protector, who sacrifices and stands strong through no matter what the challenges are, right? There are teacher places for you to be able to go in and be able to learn and understand values and lessons, and also traditions, right? Talking about some of the stories sometimes I get from talking to my mom. There are certain things that I hold on to historically, purposefully, so that I can be able to pass it on myself, because she's not always going to be here to be telling me those stories, right? So it's a guide, their guide. Our moms or our parents, our mother especially, celebrating, mothers today, they're a guide who helps shape, your child's sense of being and the place of the world. Your mom is your first love, and sometimes that space is not always loving. That space is not always a positive attachment because due to whatever environmental factors that may have contributed to those lack of nurturing or to being able to provide that positive space. So a lot of times there are things that may interfere with a woman really being able to provide that nurturing and protective factor for their child, right? But those, of course, are different things that a mom is. Not all mothers are biological and not all are women. Motherhood is ultimately about love, it's about care, it's about presence. And it's really important that we understand those things and what those sacrifices on a day-to-day basis bring to the table as well, right? It's never perfection. So let's talk more a little bit or elaborate a little bit more about what is the importance of a mother. The importance of a mother is, of course, immeasurable, right? So it's not only the emotional cornerstone that a mother provide for their family. Like I said earlier, this is the first source of that child's love, right? That provides safety and some form of guidance. And when that is not provided in the beginning stages of a child's life, it can impact their overall perception of how they understand nurturing, of how they understand love, of how they also grow into adapting and developing different relationships over time. So it's really important that we truly take these roles that we are here for important, right? Providing the things that we're supposed to give when we have these roles, whether as a mother or father or whatever the case may be. So it's an emotional support. A mother provide emotional support. It's unconditional love, right? Unconditional love. There are times I've seen parents who are exhausted and wants to sleep and can't sleep because that child is up because they have a need, right? And that parents have to put their sleep aside to be able to take care of their child because that is a priority, right? So it's that unconditional love, putting yourself second and putting that other person first. And it's a sense of security, right? When a child understands that that is an unconditional love space, it's a sense of security that is also developed. So build strong attachment and positive attachment, or those kind of avoidance attachment personalities that can often impact children and also adults relationships, right? So it also builds the child's confidence because if I have a sense of security in this space and who I am, my self-worth, of course it's going to build my confidence and my resilience to be able to do things and push through challenges as well, right? So mothers are also important because they provide moral and social development. They provide information about what our values around kindness, around honesty, around empathy. But of course there are times where that may be opposites as well, right? So we have to ensure that it is positive, values and those type of characteristic or traits that we're passing on. It's also about sacrifice and selflessness. I've already talked about a little bit. I talked about that a little bit earlier, right? The sacrifice and selflessness that is often required, that shape this individual, or that will help shape this individual life into becoming who they need to become, right? They're, of course, our first teacher. When we walk into school, a lot of times it is a mother who's holding that child's hand. I'm not saying that their fathers not out there holding hands and walking children to school these days now, but they are, right? There are. But of course, a lot of times you will see a mom helping or holding their, toddler, snot everywhere, kicking and crying that first week of pre-K. They're all proud. They got their backpack on, going into school. As soon as they hit that door, and they realize that mom is not coming in that door with them. Oh my goodness, it's chaos. It's chaotic. So it's that first love, that first space of teacher, of support, of being able to hold hand and say you got this, and teaching resilience, right? To be able to lay that foundation for learning and also for growth, right? For long-term growth and maybe, wisdom and guidance, of course. So let's talk about sacrifices. Oh my goodness. Like I said, I'm not a mom. I have been in different spaces where I provide support for people, and I was like, whew, and I love the role of being a mom one day. I know I'm going to love that space, right? And of course, I'm going to do everything that I can, by the grace of God, to show that human, that little Dorinda of mine, all the best, right? But it's there's a lot of sacrifice that come with, being a mother, right? So what are some of these sacrifices? Time, your personal time. I talked earlier about sleep. If you love your sleep, that's something you're going to have to give up, because that's from birth to a certain age, it's all about their need and being able to pour into them and being able to give. But of course, you have to be able to also create balance and self-care. And of course, I'll talk about that later on, because you just don't want to be 100% 24/7 just about everybody else and the kids, and not just yourself also, right? There needs to be some sense of balance where you got to still keep it cute and sexy while the babies are pulling and snotting on them pretty clothes and so forth. So it's all about, you give your rest. Sometimes you have to give your hobbies. You may have dreams and things like that you want to follow. It may have be where you may have to put a pause onto that dreams or hobbies and goals for a temporary moment or time, until you can nurture and build this beautiful person into who they need to become in this world through the guidance and support of God, of course. um, there are so many things that you give. You have to adjust to, like I said, career goals and your passion. You have to focus on raising and managing that, human being, your physical well-being, right? There are times where, your body as a mother, your body changes when you're pregnant. You go through this physiological changes at times where your body just stretches into so many forms, and it can be exhausting, I'm assuming, right? Where it's provide very uncomfortable, um situation in one's body, and which one's body have to endure. But that is still something that a mother will willingly go through without even worrying about that, because once they pop that baby out, it's all about, oh my goodness, the pain and all that. Distraction is no longer there, because it's all about the beauty that follows behind that, all of that pain, right? Emotional strength, you know um you know sacrifices of emotional strength. You have to always be strong even when you're hurting, right? There are times where as a mom, you want to be able to make sure that your children are emotional and not physical, not just physically, okay and growing, but emotionally and mentally strong as well, right? So even though you may have areas that you're working on and pushing through, but you're worried and you're tired. So being able to offer a smile, a hug, some sense of comfort, that's often financial sacrifices, right? Budgeting tightly to ensure that, you're meeting all obligations, to ensure that your children have what they need. And it may be taking multiple jobs, or it may be cutting down on a few of your own necessity to accommodate the need of your child, right? Your personal identity may change as well. Um, you may put that on a hold. You may take the stage. Being a mom may take the stage, if especially if you're single. And I'll talk about single mothers next, or later on. If you're single, that motherhood may be at the forefront of things, and dating and everything else may be at the back front because you want to be able to focus on raising this beautiful, beautiful human being. So, but why is it important for us to, even if you don't have children, why is it important for us to build motherly relationships, right? It is important because we ought to want to give unconditional love, right? Especially to our young ones. These are the generations of our future. What we give is what they become. If we don't give them love, then they don't know how to give love in the future. A lot of times we wonder why certain behavior and pattern exist, right? It exists because that was what was received. I do understand there are opportunities to change, and the opportunities to change is yay or nay, and the choices to do so. One have to be able to make that right. But we have to also understand that the impact of domestication and how that can also impact our overall adult relationships, right? So motherly relationships, so building a motherly relationship is not just about unconditional love. It's about being able to be an active listener, right? Hearing and validating, providing emotional support, right? Understanding what that child feels like, or understanding their feeling and supporting them. It's not always about being right. It's not always about, well, I told you so. It's all about, okay, I hear what you're saying. You can still always be the parent, but understanding that it's not about just being an authoritarian, but being able to be at a level where you can listen to the child and know that they're heard and supported, so that they don't have to run in other places seeking for validation and support, right? So there's also this consistency in being being present, right? Physically, emotionally, for all the big and small moments, providing guidance, empathy, and patience, and a lot of different type of support. Oh my goodness. That's already a lot of mouthful being a mother. Oh my goodness. And it keeps going on, right? So, ways to show up as a mom is being present, right? You have being attentive, bedtime stories, dinner conversations, or simply hug after a hard day. How was school today? Tell me about one good things that was great about school today, or tell me about one good thing that was very challenging. How did he push through? Because recognizing their strength as well, right? Recognizing their weaknesses as well, and how to help them build in those different areas in their lives as well. So offer emotional support, setting boundaries with love, right? Like I mentioned earlier, being able to still be a parent, but being able to provide love. So being able to say, I can discipline you with empathy, but being able to do so consistently and fairly is very important. But while also not holding back love because a child, did something, and so that's called manipulation. So, all right. So it leads to better examples because they also get to learn these different type of healthy values and kindness, and they grow in self-respect, and they grow and also carry that into their adulthood, into their different relationships, right? It also celebrate their own individuality, their own uniqueness, being able to understand, oh, I'm kind, this is the reason why. Not, oh, I'm kind because my mom said so, or because this is attached to this reason, whatever the case is, or transactional form, right? So but just being able to celebrate and understand their own individuality, being able to see those examples. So ways, of course, to continue to show up is, take care of yourself. Of course, apologize and grow. A lot of times adults assume that, well, I'm the adult, I'm the parent, I can't apologize. Okay, like I said, I'm not a parent yet, but apologizing doesn't have nothing to do with you being a parent or not. So it's really important about being able to admit our mistakes as human, and showing our weaknesses and our strength as well. Because remember earlier, that's what I expressed about teaching our children how for them to be also be confident in showing their strength and weaknesses. we as an adult, also have to be able to show them that example for them to understand that it's normal and it's okay to be in that space and take accountability with humility, and that there's nothing wrong with that. Whew, that's beautiful, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit about mother guilt, right? A lot of times, so parental guilt. So, doubting yourself as a mother and how to stay motivated, right? You have to remind yourself that your love is enough. You're giving your child everything that you possibly can. Perfection is not required, right? So, being present, the effort, and the love, all of those things matter more. The flexibility, you do not have to be perfect, right? And your child don't need to be perfect to see you as a perfection or as a perfect mother either. Because when we portray these masks, is what also create these different personalities, because our children now have to figure out what type of mask do I have to adapt to when my mom is here, right, in this state. So reminding yourself that you're enough, love is enough, that you're providing your presence, that you're giving the effort and love, you're actually doing these things, not just say I'm doing it, but you're actually doing these things, and understanding that it's enough. You're celebrating those small wins. You're celebrating those small wins. It doesn't have to be max, right? Or large or grande or huge. You don't have to cook meal every day, every time. You listen, or you put a smile on that baby's face. It's a win, it's a victory. You have to, celebrate those small wins and silence the comparison. Oh, I love that. Silence the comparison, because it's only going to steal your joy. Silence the comparison. Your motherhood journey is its own unique journey. It's going to be different than any other motherhood a person, right? So, not the social media, not the other parents, not even family, the unrealistic standards. You understand what you have, the resources that you have around you, focus on the resource that you have around you and build on that and grow on that, right? Focus on what works for your family and lean on, of course, the people in support that you have around you, but also continuing to push, as well, without shame. Practicing self compassion, being able to, like I said, understanding that you are doing enough, being kind to yourself, and understanding that mistakes are okay and it's not part of being a failure. It's part of growing yourself, because it doesn't come with a manual or a handbook to tell you how this path right, or goes. So having to have the grace upon yourself to understand that you're doing the best, and reconnecting to your why. Why? Think about what motherhood means to you. Why? Reflect on the love, the bond, the legacy you're building. This will fuel all of those negative, combative, overthinking thoughts, right? And take breaks without guilt. Take breaks. If you need to go and rest. If you need to go drop, you have your support system. If you need to go drop, or if you don't, that's fine. Take your child with you and go get some nice spa. And there's a lot of different places you can go and have fun and get some rest, right? Or do some things to be able to pour back into your cup as much as you can, even if you have limited resources. Do things that you can pour into yourself, even if it's just standing in the mirror and putting some beautiful makeup or something on and getting up and getting dressed up, or even going to the park and enjoying the sun, doing something to be able to celebrate that space, right? Because you have to ensure that you're doing that self-care piece. You're protecting your time, you're nourishing your body. You're eating well, you're hydrating, you're moving your body, you're exercising, you're prioritizing your sleep when you can. I know when I'm working with moms and I try to talk to them about self-care and all of those things. And at times it just tickled me when they say, well, I'm getting sleep. That's my self-care. I'm good for now. It's just amazing, this simple things. So just ensuring that, you get the sleep when you can, turning off that show and taking that nap when the baby's taking a nap, because maybe that's the only nap we might have in that moment. So just being able to stay connected, like I said, to friends, family, or support groups, being able to, so that you don't lose your own identity, ask for help and support, and being able to also reclaim your own interests, speak kindly to yourself, rest without guilt. Parents tend to carry a lot of guilt. Rest without guilt, because if you're not taking care of yourself as well, then it makes it hard to continue to do that in the long run, right? Setting expectation as a mother. Setting expectation as a mom is important, right? And I know I talked earlier about being able to be a mom, but also being able to be a supportive system, right? It is important to understand that you're a human being and you're not perfect. So be realistic. Be realistic. Set expectations that reflect your child's age, personality, and your own capacity, because perfection is not the goal here. Communicate clearly, because you want to connect. You want to connect so that there is growth and there is the means to have that effort in doing so. So communicating clearly and consistently, explaining rules, not just say I told you so. Explaining rules, values, and routines with clarity, and revisit them often with patience and support. And being able to lead with empathy, right? Expectation should be rooted not only in just, I say do this, but also in love, not control. Being able to understand your child perspective, because they have a perspective too. And we build those confidence in those little munchkins by being able to hear their voices, and also validating those voices, and being able to say, oh, wow, you did that. You thought about them yourself, building that mindset so that they can have confidence in their own ability to make their own decision, and also lead with empathy as well, right? So being able to be the model that we want, and that we're teaching to them, setting boundaries for ourselves also, right? Ensuring that we're teaching how they can also be human. So if we need to take break, we need to take break and let them know, hey, mommy needs a break. Teaching them how to be human. If you need a space, mommy needs space. Teaching them how to be human, their emotion, building their emotional, mental, physical space and capacity as well, to not only deal with you and the family space, but also the external world, and just being able to take care of yourself as well. So self-love and all of those things are important, because it's a model, right? It's strengthening our identity on all of those things. It can also prevent, burnout as well, without having to be left empty, which can also break a lot of generational patterns or unhealthy patterns that can lead to always feeling of thinking that I have to be this way to be effective, when it's not the case, because it creates that inner peace when you understand your why. So, why are mothers champions? Of course, the unwavering love, all of the different things that I've already talked about, the unwavering love and devotion, the endless sacrifices, the emotional strengths, the multitasking and time management, right? The resilience in the face of challenges, being able to, protect and advocate and guide and teach. And I mean, these unseen heroes is so many roles that can be held. But I wanted to talk a little bit also about the guilt sometimes that comes from, guilt of a mother from parenting, right? This idea of perfection. Society often paints a picture of this ideal mother, making it real difficult sometimes for certain mom to feel inadequate when they can't meet that impossible expectation, right? Working versus staying at home, discipline decisions, that self-care time away from the child, comparing yourself from all, from with yourself to others, But how can you cope with all of those guilt or those overthinking? Is recognize you're a human being. Your mom, you're not perfect. You're a human being. And all of those things, like I said, you're doing your best and you're providing the best you can based on the resources that you have. You know, apologize and reconnect, if there's a need. Focus on love, not perfection, right? Remembering those things, talking about it, practicing self forgiveness, understanding that you're a human, you're learning and you're evolving every day, showing, understanding and giving yourself the grace so that your child can also understand those same empathetic space because they see that you're a human being and that you're not perfect, right? Because if we show them that we're perfect, they're going to expect us to show up as perfect as well. So, wanted to talk as well a little bit about single mothers and happy Mother's Day as well to all the single mothers out there. Why are single mothers remarkable? They carry the double responsibility of being able to take care of the child emotionally, financially, and all of these practical demands can be very difficult, right? That's a lot of load. So there's a lot of unmatched resilience, strength, juggling job, childcare, personal challenges, and also trying to show up with love and presence for the child, their children. So there's this deep emotional bond that is also often built between single parents and their children, because of some of the experiences and vulnerability that they must share in those spaces that tends to be consistent, right, in that space, and it's often filled with love. They are able to model the role of strength and independence, and they make sacrifices every day, every second, every minute. And I'm not that I'm saying that both parents home are not the same, but these are, like I said, unmatched at times. They create full homes with half the help. Full home with half the help. Basically, that's it. They create a full home with half the help. Yes. So mothers deserve their roses because they love without limits. They sacrifice daily. They carry the emotional load. They build without recognitions. They do it all with grace. They are resilient. They deserve celebration every day. I do understand that not all of us have those type of mother as such or as described, right? And if that's the case, I hope that if we didn't have that, that we're able to create that for our own generation that we have now and the generations to come, because we have to be able to break those unhealthy cycles, because it doesn't do any good in continuing those patterns, right? So whether you receive your roses today, I had to go and get mine because this is too beautiful. And you don't have to wait to celebrate or for others to celebrate you. You have to celebrate yourself as well. Like I said, the small wins, even if no one see it. Mommy, did you see it? Celebrate yourself, right? The baby said, Mama, and you've been teaching them and it's been a couple of months. You did it. No one heard it, but you did, right? So celebrate yourself, get your roses, be the support and the comfort that you need until it's there. So happy Mother's Day to all of you, for everything that you do, because it is a huge sacrifice. And when we do it the right way, when we do it in a healthy way, and when we do it to continue to grow and build, these little munchkins, it becomes into such a beautiful world, in which we all can continue to show up as humans without perfection, but um, with love and so much more, right? So happy Mother's Day to you and to everyone out there. God bless you and take care.